Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Gullen, hanging out with my buddy and pal, Tony Shore. How you doing, Tony?
I am so good today, Barb. I'm excited to be here. We were looking at some of your great pictures from your trip
Yes.
last week.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to talk with you last week much
No,
because you were away in Mexico. Now, it was part business. You were
it was
hanging
part
out with
business.
some great financial minds and other top advisors from around the country and
Yes.
had some business meetings, but also some fun at the way it looked. I saw a
Oh,
beach
yeah.
in some of those pictures.
Oh, yes. Yes. If you're going to get me that close to the ocean, I have to get to the beach.
Yes, of course. Of course. Well, I know you've also been busy meeting with folks,
I
helping
have.
people in the community with their finances. I know you focus on helping women with their finances, federal
Mhm.
workers, and everybody in between.
We
And
do. We
so,
do.
so I'm glad we're talking about a hot topic today, and
We
that
are.
is Social Security, right?
Yes, or I mean, they've been calling it social insecurity behind the scenes for years.
Yeah, especially lately.
Well, headlines have come out saying that the Social Security Trust Fund could be depleted as early as the fourth quarter of 2032, which is
Yeah.
earlier than a lot of the other projections had
Well,
been.
it went a few years ago. It was 36. Then it went to 34. Then 33, and now the latest. And that's straight from the SSA.gov
It
website.
is. It
Yeah.
is. And, interestingly, as I was doing a little bit of research for this week's podcast, did you know this is not the first time we have had the alarm bells going off about the Social Security Trust Fund running out of money?
Oh, I believe me, I know.
I found stuff as early as 1983 was the last time that they were in a real panic about
Yeah,
this.
Reagan actually made changes to
He
shore
did.
it up so it would last longer. They've made changes. They've raised the full retirement age in the 80s under Reagan,
That
and they
was yeah, that was when they did that, and I think that during the Clinton administration was when we had our last payroll tax increase for
Yeah, they
Social
increased it to
Security.
like 6.2
Mhm.
for the employee and 6.2 for the employer.
Or if
So
you're self-employed, you get to pay all 12.4.
12.4. Yeah, 12.4. And they had bumped it up before it was lower than that.
Mhm.
And so but why they haven't made any changes since, because it's this deadline is looming, and the closer we get, the more expensive it becomes to fix it, the
It
harder it is. So
it really does. I mean, it's like we talk about, let's use another analogy. Let's talk about taking a trip to the moon and the
okay.
trajectories that they have to plan with that. If they are off by just 1 degree out of 360 degrees or something minuscule like that,
Yeah, I think
um,
it's even less than 1 degree.
yeah, when they are initially taking off or in that initial path to the moon, they will completely miss the moon and won't have the gravity of the moon to be able to boomerang back to Earth, and the ship is lost forever. Now, planning
Yikes.
for retirement isn't quite as dire as that unless you are waiting until that 11th hour. And then you've got a lot of work to do a lot of catching up. So many people rely on Social Security for a significant part of their retirement income
Yeah.
that when they are out there now talking about a 22% cut in benefits across the board in just a few short years, there are a lot of people out there who are going to suffer a serious economic hardship if that happens.
Yeah. Well, and that's not good. Now, um a lot of people take it a little too far and say we're going to be completely out of benefits. Even if the trust fund does run dry, it doesn't mean you're not going to get anything, but it's going to be greatly depleted, right?
Yes, it's going to be significantly lower than what you had projected. And so there is a school of thought that is emerging, trying to figure out how to retire without Social Security. And
Interesting.
and me being the math person I am, got out and started doing some research because I know other people have already done a lot of these calculations. Let's throw a little disclaimer in this podcast and say this is for educational purposes only. We are not carving anything in stone. We are not giving advice, and we are
Personal
not
advice.
personal advice, and we are not rattling off this stuff as gospel.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I mean,
it is something to think about.
right. What we're not doing is giving specific advice. You would need to meet with somebody to do that and get to
Right.
know their person. Everybody's situation is different as far as what they do with their finances, their time horizon, how much
What
they
your
have.
lifestyle is, what your
Yeah.
expectations
But
are.
but it is good to know and look at some hypotheticals like, hey, what if I didn't have any Social Security?
Right.
What needs to happen to make that happen
Right.
in a hypothetical situation?
And interestingly, there are companies out there like Fidelity and Kiplinger's, who are both well-known names
Yes.
in the financial services sphere, that have retirement calculators out there or that have come out with some projections and some predictions. And, to sum it all up, if you're worried about Social Security not being there,
Mhm.
you're going to need to plan on saving about another 30 to 50% in your nest egg.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, the nest egg that you need depends very heavily on where you live. Believe it or not, guess what state is the least expensive state to retire in?
Which one?
Guess.
Missouri?
Close. Missouri is number 6. Kansas is number 5.
Kansas, yeah.
But if you go just a little bit further south to Oklahoma,
Oh,
that
Oklahoma.
is
Okay.
the least expensive state in
Uh-huh.
the 50 states to retire. Their
Also the state in which you're most likely to get killed by a tornado. So
I was going to say, or get pulled over on the highway.
yeah, that's true. You got to watch out for those Oklahoma troopers. Yeah.
So, average annual living expenses, say that 5 times fast, in Oklahoma are just under $52,000 a year.
Wow.
So if we multiply that out, Kiplinger says you can retire comfortably with about $735,000 in your nest egg for retirement. Now, it is no surprise what the most expensive state to retire is.
It's got to be Hawaii, California, or New York.
Hawaii, Massachusetts, and California
Yeah.
make up the top 3.
Sure.
New York is the 5th most expensive, with Alaska in between California and New York.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Anything that's isolated. Hawaii, obviously, because
right. Because
it's an
there,
island.
instead of needing $52,000 a year for your average expenses, you need about $110,000. Actually, a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
So
especially now, I've heard it's gotten outrageous. I just talked to somebody who went to Hawaii, and they said
it's insane.
Couldn't afford to. They did not budget enough to visit there. I mean, it was that expensive. Like,
Wow.
I mean, like crazy. Like 10 times everything's 10 times the price at
Well,
least.
remember the fires went through Maui. What was it? 5-6 years ago.
Yep.
And that has impacted a lot of things significantly. But
Yeah.
remember how I said with Oklahoma, you need about $735,000 to retire? For Hawaii, you need roughly $2.2 million.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Right.
Yeah. And I like your numbers with Social Security because you always hear that Social Security makes up on average about 40 it's somewhere between 40 and 60% of people's retirement income for the majority of people. That's not everyone. So you figure you're going to need 40 or 50% more in your retirement accounts if you don't have Social Security. That makes sense.
Right. And, it's easier to make those adjustments the younger you are because you have compound interest and time value of money on your side.
Yes.
So, if you're listening to this podcast and you're in your 40s or in your 50s and going, how am I going to do that? I'm going to put in a shameless plug and say you need to be working with a fiduciary financial advisor
Yes.
to figure out how to make your money work for you, and changes that you can make in your spending habits or in your lifestyle to actually make yourself a little bit more independent of what Social Security is or is not going to be providing to you
Right.
once you retire.
Right. Right, and you never know where it's going because the way things have been, nobody stepped up to fix Social Security, and the longer it goes, the worse it's going to get.
Yeah,
Um,
they have not, and I truly believe that it's because the 537 or so people in DC that we elect to actually represent us all know that they are going to be basically writing their own pink slip once they make these adjustments to Social Security, unless the American people really realize that this is a necessity.
oh yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, that's why it would take like a lame duck president in their last term to spearhead it because
And force the issue. Yeah.
yeah, that force the issue and, say, "Hey, I'm gonna go out on the legacy that I saved Social Security by raising the full retirement age,
Right.
raising the, payroll tax
The
on for
withholdings.
Social
Yes.
Security, and maybe eliminating the cap on how much can be taxed for Social Security."
If we and doing all of those things would definitely prolong the life of the Social Security
Right.
Trust Fund.
Yep.
And, for people like myself who end up making an income that exceeds that annual limit, it's a small price to pay,
Yeah. I mean,
and
most
I'm
people,
sure
if
there
you're
are
ma I
other
mean
people of other schools of thought that
yeah,
say I can
sure.
do better with my money than the government can. Probably true. I
Yeah.
mean, we
Yeah,
have
I
seen a
mean
whole lot of stupid, careless spending.
sure, it's probably true, but our country, if you care about the country and people, you need
Mhm.
some type of safety net, and
Right,
we've come to rely on it because there are no longer pensions. I mean,
right.
but if you're making over $200,000 a year, if you're making $500,000 a year, um, are you really gonna even notice that extra Social Security tax at that point?
Let's talk about how the extra Social Security tax being deducted could actually take an high income earner and reduce their taxes, at least in the present, if you think about it.
That's true.
Um, but that's
It's a
another
good point.
topic. That's a
Yeah, that's a
topic for
good
another
tax point.
podcast with
Yeah,
probably somebody who's more of a tax expert than I am
yeah.
interjecting there. Either way, if you want to be independent of what the government says you're entitled to or claims they are going to provide you. And I will be honest with you, when you are pulling those reports right now for Social Security to find out what your estimated benefit is, the younger you are, the less accurate that number is going to be.
Yeah.
For somebody like me who, gosh, I'm in the second half of my fifth decade now. Um, that number is going to be a little bit more accurate than my kids who are in their 20s. Either way, you owe it to yourself to make sure that you are building a lifestyle and a nest egg that, regardless of what happens in DC, you know that you can finance the retirement lifestyle that you are envisioning for yourself.
Yeah.
The best time to start planning for retirement was 10 years ago. The next best time is today.
Yep. Yep. It's just the save early, save often theme,
Mhm.
isn't it? That you
It
always
is.
talk about. I mean, and that's really the solution to being able to retire without Social Security. But I'm glad you brought this up because we need to start thinking about it. I mean, as of right now, the last time I checked, the SSA.gov site said by the fourth quarter of 2032, like you said, benefits will need to be reduced. The trust fund will be depleted and benefits will decrease by at least 20%. And
Right.
that's their projections, right?
And
And
you're right. And I that's just a guess. And
yeah,
it's around my birthday. So since the Social Security Administration no longer mails those reports every year like they used to save the trees and as a cost-cutting measure, I go out every couple of years and look at what my projected benefit is supposed to be.
yeah. Well, happy birthday, by the way. I
Thank
forgot to
you.
mention happy birthday. We
Thank
are
you.
actually recording this show on your birthday.
On my birthday.
Yeah, happy
Um,
birthday, Barb. I
so
mean, 40 looks good on you.
thank you. But your Facebook post said, I hope you enjoy your 30s. So apparently your glasses need to be cleaned.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Anyway, um, when we are looking at this, retirement, despite the benefits of Social Security and Medicare, preparing for retirement is personal responsibility. And making
Yeah.
the most of your employer plans as well as living below your means and saving independently of those retirement plans is what is going to give you the best opportunity for a solid financial footing in retirement.
Yeah.
And especially if you are thinking about retiring before the age of 65, I would argue that you need to save even more than that additional 30 to 50% because you are going to need to fund your own health insurance in those gap years. And that can be very expensive.
Yeah. Hugely expensive. And so, yeah, if you retire in there, the earlier you retire, the more you need. That's obvious, but a lot of people don't think about things like health insurance and covering that before you get to Medicare age, right?
Yes. And as a fiduciary, I take time to do some pretty careful income projections and work with a team of certified financial planners. There are a lot of people that plan on spending a lot of money those first couple of years into retirement because they're taking those bucket list trips and they're doing the things that they couldn't do when they had an 8 to 5 job and a limited vacation schedule. However, when we do a lot of spending in those early years, we need to make sure that we are leaving enough in the nest egg to help cover those costs later on and to continue growing. We don't want to get into a negative spiral with income like has happened with the Social Security Fund trust fund where we're pulling more money out than is being earned through interest or increases in your investments. So, this is not something for the faint of heart.
No.
And even though Kiplinger's and Fidelity and other people out there are like a rule of thumb is you need to save 10 to 12 times your annual salary. And when you've got that saved, then you're ready to retire. My argument is that with the uncertainty of Social Security, it needs to be more like 12 to 15 times that annual income,
Yeah.
especially if you intend to maintain that same income level. There was the fallacy that you're going to spend less in retirement just doesn't exist.
Nope.
It,
Especially the early years and then the
right,
very later years. Maybe in
right,
the go-go years you're going, you want to travel,
right.
take the kids to Disney World, go on that European cruise or travel the US going to
Mhm.
national parks. Everything costs money and every day is a Saturday. So you're going to spend a lot in
That's
retirement,
right.
especially during those early years. I can see that. But then when you slow down
Yeah, the
and
slow go years.
the slow go years,
You
you're
might
gonna
reduce
spend
expenses
yeah,
then.
I think people will reduce most people do reduce expenses in the slow-go
Mhm.
years, but the no-go years, that's when your expenses
Expensive.
very expensive. That's when you're gonna spend you could spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on healthcare. I mean,
Easily,
yeah, because
especially if you
Medicare
end
doesn't
up in
cover vision, dental, hearing, or long-term care.
right, and heaven forbid if you end up in a situation where you are diagnosed with a cognitive issue and you
Yeah,
need to go into a full-time memory care,
yeah.
you're it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's 10 to here, where I'm at, it starts at about $9,000 a month and goes up
Mhm.
to $12,000 a month. And so, and unless you're broke, Medicare doesn't cover any of that. Medicaid will cover it, but you have to be pretty much.
With Medicaid, you're giving up almost all
Broke.
of your resources.
Yeah.
And with most states, if you are on Medicaid, they will allow you to keep your house and a car. But when the second person in a couple dies, if you're married, the state is going to have a lien attached to that house. So
Yeah.
when
So
the
you're not
kids
going to
go
be
to
able to
sell the
leave it to
house,
family.
you're
Yeah.
not going to be able to leave it to family. If you are dead set, no pun intended, on leaving a legacy for your kids or your grandkids, you really need to loop in the help of a financial services professional, a
Yes.
fiduciary who understands how all of this works.
Yep, exactly. I think that's huge. Well, great topic today, and as always,
God bless Social Security.
God bless Social Security. Right? Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And if anybody has any questions for what they've heard today, they can always reach out to our offices. We offer those complimentary consultations. You can go to our website, anchoryourretirement.com. We'll get you some of our archived podcasts, but going to bgwealthmanagement.com gives you an opportunity to sign up for one of those no cost, no obligation consultations. Or if you feel like doing it the old fashioned way and picking up the phone, call us at area code 913 553 6222. Select option 4 from the automated attendant. Sorry that we don't have a live person answering the phone. We're going to grow up one day and get there. But that will get you to a live person just from pushing one button, option 4. And Christina or another member of our team will get you on the calendar to meet with a fiduciary advisor and help you get the lay of the land with where you are for retirement.
Awesome. Well, great show. And
Thanks,
it is
Stephanie.
an interesting question to ask. Can you afford to retire without Social Security? Barb, some wisdom there. Work with a financial professional. Get the answers that are personalized for your situation. Again, 913-553-6222. And that does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barb Gullen.
We'll see you soon.